It's been pretty good. There's not been a whole lot that as many bumps as some mock weeks, but just it's really just getting the kids acclimated with how a practice week's going to go. Because when we get to the real thing, you want it to be as smooth as possible.
With the defense, where do you think this team stands as far as their identity? Is it, finished up fall camp into the mock week?
I think we can be a multiple defense. We can jump in and out of things. Our kids are handling it well. We've done some crowd music and some stuff where we got to really step back as coaches and see what they can and can't execute. We've got some full speed tempo periods that we've been putting a lot more on them from a pressure standpoint. So it'll be, I think just with the leadership and where we're going with it, I think we can be a lot more multiple and go in and out of different things, which will be good for us.
You mentioned the music. There's some other things y'all are doing to prepare the team for that atmosphere that will be at Kyle Field next week?
Hard to simulate. I mean, you got to lean on just experience with the kids and understand that there's going to be a great environment to play in, and it's going to be loud against you, So I think really just the noise and the communication standpoint is really the most important part.
Do you think the P5 experience with a lot of these coaches, you included, from coaching a lot of games at Jones Stadium and all that, do you think that helps with this upcoming game, this big atmosphere a lot of these kids
Yeah, I think we really aren't putting a whole lot into it, from an emphasis standpoint, other than it's going to be a loud environment. It's one of the bigger stadiums in the country, so, you got to call it what it is. But from that standpoint, you got to approach it like a normal game as well. So, I think that our kids understand that, and they know where we're at, from a mindset, and, they'll be excited to play.
We've talked about it a lot, the experience of the defense that you have. But what about some of the younger guys? We've got the Canberra Winters and some other young guys that we've seen out there. Kind of talk about some of those young guys that are starting to emerge.
Yeah, Cam Winters and Kevin Anderson have been really good. They still ride the freshman roller coaster a little bit, which you're used to. Jordan Revels is another guy that we're fired up about, and Jordan Mask is getting better every day. He's made the transition more to defense in high school. He's a two-way player, but just kind of more of an offensive threat. So, those four have been really fun to be around. They've had growing pains like all freshmen do, but, they're going to play significant snaps for us throughout the season.
We almost tend to forget about him because he's been here so long. But Brian London, going into his senior year, he's got a record where if he needs 105, 106 tackles to be the all-time leading tackler here at Texas State.
That's awesome.
He says he doesn't think about it. Is that something that you're going to help him try and get?
Well, between him and Nick Daniels, they're two of our better players. They're two of our better tacklers. So, defensively, we try to make sure that they get to where the football is. How we can protect them, how we can move them, how that we can get them to where they're making the tackle. Not somebody else. So he'll have ample opportunities. I'm excited about both the linebackers. Belos gets a lot of credit, but Nick Daniels is a guy that I think day in and out is as good as the player that we have. So I'm fired up about both of them. Obviously, I got to do a good job making sure they are the ones making those tackles, and we'll look up at the end of the season and see where Belo stands.
You mentioned those two; they're both seniors. So going into next year, that's a little bit of a deficiency. Who behind them at inside linebackers kind of?
Markevian Coleman Binky has been really impressive. He's a guy that I don't have any hesitation if one of them were to get knocked around a little bit or lose their breath or something. We could put him in, and I think you'd see a good, significant linebacker out there. I'm fired up about where he's at. Post-spring, you kind of weren't sure, but fall camp, he's been really impressive. So I'm excited about the depth he brings there. And the confidence I have in him is great. So, we're fully confident to put him out there.
The third outside linebacker spot, it seems like you have 3 or 4 guys you could really plug in there and do well. Kind of talk about those guys, Frank Griffin, Gavin Graham, Clifton Lewis, Al Vinson.
Yeah, they're the unique thing about that room is they all have different strengths and weaknesses, so one's better at this and not as, good at this. So, it's kind of getting a fit for what, they bring to the table and what kind of packages you can drop, you can do with them. The good thing about them is that they're not your standard just rush outside backer that's more of a pass rush defensive end. You can actually put them in the box. They can play linebacker, and a couple of them are pretty productive pass rushers for us. So excited about that group. The thing with that is, there's a lot of competition there. and nobody's just safe. You know, they're just not the starter. We're at inside linebacker right now. Those two, you know, are obviously the guys. Well, you know, that room is, you know, if you struggle at a practice, you know, you might move down the depth chart. So there's some competition there, which makes that group a lot better.
And you know, even though there's that competition there, do you think they'll all kind of be used?
Yeah, I mean, we've got packages where we can get two of those positions out there. I think it's a physically demanding position where, you know, that we can roll them in and keep them fresh from series to series. And obviously, if one's playing better than the other during a game, we got to ride him, you know. But at least it gives us some options, and we can get certain guys in on third down and certain guys in on early downs if they allow us to sub. So.
You know, last week we got to talk to Deshaun Watson. He's a real quiet guy, but I know he does a lot for the defense. Kind of talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, you know, this is really the fall camp was the first time we really got to see him. You know, like we knew what we had just watching game tape, and we were excited about it. But I think, you know, seeing him in fall camp and what he brings from he just got a skill set to where he can cover a slot receiver, which is hard to do as a safety because you ask those guys to make a lot of tackles, and it's hard to find that complement in that position. And he has that. Him and JT Taylor, you know, are kind of the glue right there. They both can cover on the slot a little bit better than what I've had in the past. And then obviously they can tackle. So, you know, we just got to get them to where they, you know, they can overlap the ball. So when Belo and Nick are trying to make the tackles, if something does get, you know, messed up or funky up in the middle, they can be there to tackle it.
You know, in the spot next to him, is it kind of an open competition between Smith and Anderson and some other guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of competition. You know, Alvin Pacheco's a guy that's doing well too. You know, those three it's kind of like the rush position. You know, you got to practice well to take the one snaps the next day. So, you know, that's the one thing that we're trying to build is some competition at a lot of positions. We don't have that, you know, right now at certain ones, but we will.
It's kind of that way with the D-line too, almost set with Patton, Isidori, and Davis. Am I right with that?
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, Jordan Revels and Jamar Daniels are doing well at nose guard. You know, they make Nico work. I mean, that's not just a slam dunk there, you know, but obviously Savion, we're trying to find some depth behind him, and obviously Ish. But, you know, Kamandi Hines is a guy that if he plays well, he can really press Ish, you know. So they've got a little bit more competition than the inside backer room, but as far from my standpoint, you know, the rushes, the safeties are very competitive. You know, with the young corners coming every day, those, you know, Rod and Baby J are, you know, they're in competition as well. So,
you know, just overall for your defense in this mock week, what is an area that you really want to see improve, that you really want them to focus on?
You know, we're just focusing really on the polish of everything. You know, the communication, making sure there's not. When we watch practice tape, there's 11 guys doing exactly what they're coached and working the call that's called, you know. I also think that, you know, what we see, we're also having to make that transition from what we see from Coach Stitt in fall camp to now, all right, we're going to have to look at some different offenses throughout the next first three opponents, you know. And obviously Texas A&M's a lot different than we are on offense. So trying to get a rhythm with the run fits there and certain, you know, and some of our base defenses. So kind of like polishing our calls and then obviously formatting our game plan in as we go.